Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the QCast, and I wanted to bring you up to speed on a bunch of stuff that's happening. First of all, on my alerts section of my website is where I post all the most pertinent data. I recently posted an alert from a banker, actually a chief information officer in a major financial firm. By the way, I've known this gentleman who sends me stuff periodically over the years. And I just want to start out by saying there's a difference between people in the know and what people think. I want to know what people know, not what they think based on the first statement out of their mouth is, well, I think. So this alert is on my website, stevequayle.com, and it's the latest alert. And I want to talk about this because this is every day now. This becomes more apparent what's going on with the recent telling WikiLeaks on the intelligence agencies, with the Samsung TVs, with all electronic devices, with all backdoors. There is no safe encryption. I want you to know that. Maybe there is to the intelligence community themselves, but to the average guy, there is a backdoor on everything. So the only way that you're going to basically be able to escape this, if you want to stay with a digital footprint, is to unplug everything. That means the phone goes, the computer goes, the newer car goes, the television set goes, smart appliances, dumb appliances, everything that you have relied on that has a computer chip will have to go. Now, God may intervene on all of our behalves and shut the grid down at some point, and that takes care of that problem. But I want to read this alert to you, and then I'm going to comment on it, because this is from someone who's in the know. I got a response from a woman who said she passed it off somebody, not to be contentious, and I don't take it that way, but he said, well, I don't know why they'd want to crash the bond markets. Well, it's obvious to me, sir, if you see this alert and this QCast, you don't know. That's not to challenge you either. But listen, there's the people that know and there's the people that always want to think they know. And I'm going to go over this from someone who knows. Banks set to go cashless, going to crash the bond market. One of the most important heads up financially I have ever posted on my website. And he said this. He said, Steve, that's how the original came to me. Steve, I work in IT at one of the highest technical positions in a major telecommunications firm. The only position higher than the one my colleagues or myself hold is the CIO position, Chief Information Officer. The testing is complete. Contractual discussions between banks and a big three-letter company, the one that helped to create the serial number generators for the Nazis, are underway. The details are more or less related to a typical service, but still blockchain technology will be used to track people, their payments, and enforce much higher taxes. Everything, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, you think, do, and say will be in the electronic footprint, voice print, or mind print they took from you today. That's kind of a takeoff on Zager and Evans in the year 2525. If man is still alive, don't think so under the given circumstances. Now, here's what he said. He said, Steve, the testing is complete. Contractual discussions between banks and a big three-letter company are already done. Personally, all my assets are outside the banking system. I work with banks daily and have hundreds of clients, so obviously I have some experience to back up my decision. A second note about bank warnings. The European Central Bank has put out recent warnings about the volatility in the foreign exchange markets and the bond markets. I believe this is a face-saving move, so when big losses come, they will say, we told you so. Working with the Federal Reserve on a technical project, they are clueless. They have no plans and make decisions that make no sense. Typically, organizations run from the top down, so I wouldn't be surprised if the heads of the feds are the same. Hard to say if they are malicious or just brain dead. Here are his recommendations as an insider's insider. Know that all your transactions can be tracked and are shared between governments. Gold and silver are a must. I have used it to pay my friends when I didn't want transactions showing up on my bank account. I literally got an email less than 2 hours ago. And by the way, Montana time, this is 2:43 Mountain Standard Time on Wednesday. Gold and silver are a must. I've used it to pay friends when I didn't want transactions showing up on my bank account. I like Bitcoin. I know some people think this was created by the elite, but why create Bitcoin and leave it there while creating your own independent blockchain tech to back up fiat currency transactions? This tells me it's not elite controlled, at least not completely. And there is some anonymity there for privacy concerned people. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I don't share that position. I'll tell you why in a minute. He said this: hold cash and small bills. Banks are moving towards a cashless society, no doubt. But there is a major opinion that they do not want to do away with smaller denominations, at least anytime soon. The European Central Bank has new banknote issuance up into 2018 and have the project teams to back up the news. I keep personally stacks of 5s, 10s, and 20s. From what we've seen in the recent past, now here's what he says, okay? From what we've seen in the recent past, it is always a larger denomination, like $100 or whatever, that are banned overnight. By the way, the United States used to have $10,000 bills, $1,000 bills, and $500 bills, which disappeared for this very same reason. The rest of the methods I know about are either illegal or make you look like a criminal. Some are legal depending upon where you set them up and where the moves are made. So I'd suggest people look into that. But here's what he says, and this is really important. Hold more assets outside the banking system. Things that have lasted throughout history and are not always considered financial investments. Food and farmland. Fine wine. He must be a wine connoisseur. This kind of stuff is less than 1% of the world's supply and is rare. Very illiquid, but in most cases, not regulated by financial laws and not always subject to capital gains tax. Also very speculative. I doubt the average person knows, but, again, remember, the elite are steps ahead, years ahead, and since they are the ones manipulating everything, they're prepositioning themselves decades ahead so that with all their trust, blind trust, all their financial information, and all their literal holdings of precious metals all over the world, they know what's coming, they're getting prepared. Having a trade network on your own, learning how to trade goods you can produce. This is how families survived the Soviet Union and the famines. And I might say this, during the Great Depression, and especially the Dust Bowl days, people that had farms, they suffered, ranches, they suffered too, but they fared generally much better than the general population that was a permanent, if you will, during those times of the Great Depression. Most people were in transit, moving from point A to point B, where they might even have an opportunity to get a job. But the important thing for people to understand right now is that with the current revelations that have come out on what's called Weeping Angel, I have my own take on that. That's one of the Central Intelligence Agency's name. Now, let me share this. In the book of Enoch and in so many of the extra biblical writings of, and what I just mean is they're not in the official canon of Scripture, it talks about the Gregori, Gregori, in a permanent form and a permanent chant of weeping and basically interceding to God to forgive them for their sin. They want out of the position they're in. They want out of the place they're in. So when my curiosity got, I would say, strengthened when I saw Weeping Angel. What is very difficult for people to embrace in this day and age, though they watch it incessantly on television, they watch it in the movies, they read it in their books, they play it in their games, is a supernatural element battling against a natural element, or good fallen angels versus bad fallen angels. Fallen angels are fallen angels. Those guys are the bad guys. Fallen angels do not die. This is a critical point in order to go on further. Demons are the disembodied spirits of the giants who were slain. Now imagine, if you will, that literally we're approaching the time where those who were slain entities, so to speak, are going to be reanimated and the very evil hybrid spirit will come back into its home. The Epic of Gilgamesh. I can remember being on talk radio when the tomb of Gilgamesh was found. And I carried the story, it was on the BBC. And what was most profound to me is the state of the condition of the body. Now, having tracked giants, having tracked mummies, having tracked, ancient stuff all over the world, spoken to eyewitnesses, spoken to people in the military, in the intelligence, what's fascinating is the overwhelming desire to transform humanity into the Übermensch, Nietzsche's Superman, Hitler's Superman, the ideal Aryan warrior. So as we come to this time in history where almost all cards are in play, all the evil that has been prophesied is now beginning to unfold, I want to remind everybody, a little over 5 to 7 years ago, I believe I was given a message, and I believe God gave me that message, and I gave it as accurately as I received it. The exact words were from the Lord, and this is a matter of numerous talk radio shows, before God would allow the Russians and Chinese to destroy the United States in a nuclear attack, he would reveal the sins of the leaders to the people and the people's sins before God. Now, when I said that, a lot of people couldn't embrace it. It was too far out of their, oh no, that's just crazy. That's just fear porn. That's just, oh no, you're just trying to scare us all, to sell precious metals or to sell food. I got nothing to sell you except to give you the truth. What you do with it is your business. But now we're entering and we are at the darkest times in history. We've got major political cover-ups on both the Democrats and Republicans' involvement in satanic ritual abuse, Satanism, cannibalism, on a level that's just literally off the charts, on occult practices, black magic, and every form of curse and conveyance of evil taking place before our eyes. So back to the statement. If you remember, ladies and gentlemen, that God is not only just, but he does judge nations in history and individuals in eternity. Sometimes individuals get judged, I guess, in the sense only that they die ahead of time. So when you are talking to someone about this, be on guard for the I think. The most important thing is I know. When you say that, you'll make the insecure, jealous, envious, spoiled brat claimants to Christianity just come undone at the seams. The statement, you need to grow up, is an understatement. You need to man up, and that's pretty tough to do in a testicle-free zone now due to the amount of xenoestrogens in the water, due to the amount of glyphosates in the food, due to the amount of chemtrail, heavy metals in the chemtrail spray. But look at this. How many of you can think back even 20 years? Did you see young men and there were exceptions, but you didn't see a lot of guys who were bald at the age of 20. If you look at what's happening now, even the what would be the former features of, let's say, a man from 20 to 30 years ago. Now, I'm not saying guys who are bald aren't men. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is this, that what we're seeing is a systematic elimination of the ability to have children with any sort of dimensional strength and fortitude and when I say fortitude, both internal and external, because we become, how should I say this, meowified, because I won't use the other word because it would be offensive to the women that want to dress up like female sex organs and wear dumb hats. But it's fascinating to me that, again, we're seeing now an inversion of roles, R-O-L-E-S. And that inversion is that the women are becoming more militant than the men. It's Jezebel on steroids. And remember, Jezebel controlled Ahab. If you want to know what's going on in the Clinton Foundation, just go to your Bible and read the Jezebel and Ahab reports and literally the stories, and I think you'll get the message. Because one of the emails I get over and over and over, and I can't answer for the over and over and over millionth time, is how long do we have? I think it's better to approach this on an individual basis, to the best of your knowledge, and now I'll speak to claimants to Christianity, are you doing everything that you believe you can do to walk in the light that you've been given? You don't have to walk in lights you haven't been given, but are you faithful with the little things? To those of you that would rather pick fights amongst the brethren, for those of you that have declared yourselves to be prophets and watchmen, or you're a watchman, now you're saying behind the scenes that you're really a prophet, and then you mock those who basically have been right on. And to those of you that keep sending me those incessant emails that Donald Trump is this, Donald Trump is that, I maintain, once again, that given the word that I was given, maybe 7 years ago? I think it's 5, or I say it's 5, but it's closer to 7, that before God allows Russia and China to destroy the United States in a thermonuclear war, he's going to reveal the sins of the leaders to the people and the people's sins before a holy God. Now, that isn't the grab your guitar, get a campfire, sing Kumbaya, and discuss your feelings sort of reality check. I believe Americans suffer from a primary disease called reality deficit disorder. Maybe now even to move it to reality denial disorder. It's like people are being told, you can't trust your eyes or ears. You have to take our word for it. So everything is fake, that's the truth, and everything is a lie is the truth. Again, the prophet cried out, woe unto them who called evil good and good evil. So we're at a point now in time where the financial markets are facing on the 15th a debt ceiling of $20 trillion. I think it's estimated the Fed, has maybe 3 months of operating capital. Will there be an emergency override of the previous settlement or the previous debt limit? Probably. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, you need to watch what's going on with both Germany and France. If Le Pen wins in France, then I'm telling you this, it's a whole different world for Europe. If Angela Merkel comes to the United States and tries to export her Illuminati madness and dump on the Trump campaign, I don't think it's going to go very far. So we're now at a transition point that we've never been at before. We've got North Korea testing openly their ballistic missiles, claiming that they're getting ready to attack U.S. bases. Now remember, they're saying this in Japan. Japan saying, we're not going to sit back. Japan has, and rightly so, they have hawks in their government saying, we better strike North Korea before they strike us. Then you've got the incessant blame the Russians Democrats who, meanwhile, are taking their handouts on the left. I mean, again, if God would, in His mercy, expose to us just even like a VU meter chart, okay, or a basic chart of just how much has been lost in this nation by betrayal, by espionage, by treason, you'd maybe understand that when you have a weapons development program and it fails, F-35, some of the high-dollar missile cruisers, the billion-dollar missile cruisers that can't even see Russian jets until they're on the deck, or they basically have to be towed back to port numerous times to fix the problem that wasn't fixed the first time. So we're at a point that I think is no other term I can use than a global flashpoint. Now, I was up really late last night. It's like I can't seem to just not post the latest stories. And I thank those of you who pray for me that I'll get more sleep. But right now I'm going on, maybe 4 hours of sleep. And again, it is Wednesday. Somebody said, well, you should get some sleep and go back and do these. I am under the impression that time is no option. And saying that, we're out of time. I will have a special guest on with me on Doug Hagman's show this Friday for the first 2 hours. You will want to hear what he says about Antarctica. It's someone that hasn't been out on the talk show circuit. It's somebody that I basically respect, and he's gained the respect of the special operations community worldwide, warrior, highly decorated, all that stuff. The stuff that he's hearing from different people and places around the world are very, very disturbing. I asked him again, And you probably saw the note I posted on my alert, maybe the second or third one down, stevequayle.com on the alert, that a certain gentleman would contact another certain gentleman to give us an up-to-date briefing on what's going on in Antarctica. Well, my friend Harry Cooper at Shark Hunters International basically just put out, he was down in South America, that they're flying in defense contractors, they, meaning the military, by 1,000 people. And I don't know what they're doing, but I do know this, that the 2.5-mile anomaly that's under the water, according to top brass and according to those who know what's going on, is very ominous. And their exact words are, they're getting ready to play their hand, Steve. I don't know what that means, but I think it's going to be that we're facing almost insurmountable odds as a planetary population, that the aliens are here to save us, to help us, and if we know what's good for us, we will just yield to the aliens because they've been their brother's keepers for all this time. I also posted a story today on my website about the Catholic Church, once again talking about baptizing aliens. Now, what's wrong with that? First of all, Jesus Christ died for the offspring of Adam and Eve. This is why Jesus is called the second Adam. This is why Jesus referred to himself as the Son of Man. He sets himself apart from fallen angels. He even set apart the fact that he was the Son of God. He knew it, but he took on himself the nature of man. He humbled himself to come and redeem mankind. That's the thing that blew my mind when I got saved by listening to Hal Lindsey in 1972. The fact that God took my sin upon himself and punished himself for me, and all I have to do is, acknowledge that and ask Jesus to forgive me, and then obviously repent from my wicked ways, plural, multiplied by 1,000. But one by one, God has been faithful, or 10 by 10, or 100 by 100, to wipe away even the remembrance of sin. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are actually seeing now the name of the Samsung TV and the intelligence agency's program, Weeping Angels. And I said on my little note, my SQ quotes, that Weeping Angels, I said this, fallen angels have been the ultimate voyeurs for eons. Now, they're not peeping Toms, but they're peeping fallen angels, because as watchers, they perceive the human race. And isn't it fascinating that the devil has reversal roles? Men want to become as gods. They want to live forever. They want to be masters of their own race. And yet a third of the angels want to live as men, have sex with earth women, produce giant offspring, and those were their kids. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, just to deal with it, Jesus said, in heaven they are neither given or taken in marriage, but are as the angels. That doesn't apply to fallen from heaven angels onto the earth. So this is a dominant theme. And once again, Friday night, we'll be talking about the fallen angel thing, and you're going to get some revelation. I'd encourage you now, which by the time this plays will probably be Thursday, I would encourage you now to begin to pray and seek the Lord on how to handle this, how to deal with this. Because again, my prayer is not to titillate, not to tantalize, not to cause fear, but just to tell you the times that prophets and the scriptures used to testify to are now here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, what we're trying to do is to get everyone in a relatively safer area, if it's possible, than you are now. And so with that in mind, I want you to know that our time is very, very short. Again, I want you to tune in to Hagmann and Hagmann this Friday night, which will mean it's the 10th. Tune in to Doug Hagmann's show and listen to me and a certain guest who I think you'll not only recognize but appreciate. Now I want to just change horses for the next 5 minutes. I've been getting emails and calls, and because I was gone for pretty close to a week, I got a bunch of people to catch up with. But food will be the ultimate barter item. Food, That's if you have excess beyond what you need. And if you remember the story of Jacob and Esau, Esau sold his birthright as being the firstborn because he was hungry. The globalists have long alluded to the fact, stated clearly, and are on record saying they use food as a weapon. They make no apologies for it, and they decide who lives and who dies. Well, enter stage right, cannibal now followers of certain sects in Islam saying it's okay to eat your enemy. It's okay to eat the infidels. Well, ladies and gentlemen, show me where that comes from. If the devil's the one who initiates it, and the others follow through with it, then who is their father? And my guess is that it's so obvious that in North Korea's case, that they're listening to someone who wants the world destroyed. Is North Korea being used as a proxy by possibly Russia, China, or even Pakistan? I think it's very reasonable that China, Russia, and Pakistan will use North Korea as a flashpoint when the time comes. Now, how you'll know it's upon us is you'll start hearing of bank runs. You'll start hearing of banks, locking their customers out of the doors. You want to be where everyone else isn't. That's the golden rule of survival, and I would say protocol, etiquette, and just plain all-out intelligence. You want to be where everyone else isn't. If there's food rationing, you don't want to be in a line like Venezuela, where everyone's standing in line sometimes for, pretty close to half the day only to get such meager rations, they defy description. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to just share one thing. On Friday night, this coming Friday night, my special guest and I will be talking about, Empire Beneath the Ice. Now, I'm not trying to give anybody a book report, but those of you who have not gotten the book Empire Beneath the Ice, and by the way, thanks again to Greg Hunter for the outstanding interview. This will turn out in the weeks ahead to be the most important book, I believe, I've ever written outside of the Genesis 6 Giants for you to know how this is going to play out. This is simply not just a history of the Nazi war machine, of how they fled to Antarctica and New Schwabenland. It goes far beyond that. My next area of, I'll give you a little hint, my next area of revelation that's going to affect everybody is, again, on Mars. As you know, I was a publisher. I think I've mentioned it before. Cydonia, The Secret Chronicle of Mars. I'm going to be having a double edition, a new tribute edition to David Flynn, but also another book called The Earth-Mars Wars. The original author passed away, but his children have given me permission to reprint it. And what's important about this is that you're going to hear more and more about it. The parallel between Earth and Mars are unmistakable. From architecture, orbits, everything that we are as we know Earth, Mars was once also. And by the way, don't believe the JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, images of Mars. I'd encourage you all to look up too. Just start doing your homework on jump rooms, JUMPROOMS. You'll not only come up with Dr. Basiago, but you'll come up with other names. And I can share with you from personal knowledge of people that have used them, and yes, I know those people, that it's beyond what we can wrap our heads around unless we come into a form of acclamation of not only the supernatural, but we have to go beyond what we've been taught and what we've been led to believe. And so what we're watching right now is probably the most dangerous series of events because everybody knows the intelligence agencies are at war with Donald Trump. I want you to do your homework, okay? This is your homework, all of you, as the Kung Fu master used to call David Carradine a grasshopper. Go and look at everyone who was appointed in the head of intelligence by the former entity that was in the White House, known as the president. Go and look at all the Department of Homeland Security heads. Go and look at all the different generals that were fired. It is my recommendation to the President Donald Trump, to recall as many as will return to service, those battle-hardened, tested generals and admirals and fleet officers that were forced out of the U.S. military. Again, unless the Air Force quits making war on God, the God of heaven and Jesus Christ, unless the Marines and all others quit making war on God, especially the Navy, the defeats that are going to loom. This isn't Tokyo Rose talking. This is the living God. We won World War II. There were a lot of people praying. We won World War I, if you can say that in the context of what history officially records, but unofficial history, we lost. And ask yourself this: why from Korea to Vietnam to Afghanistan to Iran, Iraq, wherever we've touched foot, the countries haven't zoomed to material excellence and certainly not spiritual excellence, but they become more and more under the boot heel. For those of you that think you're ready to go up against Goliath, this is what a 4-star general once told me. He said, Steve, remember, David didn't go up against Goliath until he believed God to go up against the lion and the bear, and knew, just as God gave David the victory over the lion and the bear, he would also give, the victory to David over Goliath. So, ladies and gentlemen, things are going to break loose. They are breaking loose. And I just want you to make sure you go to my website multiple times a day, because there's so much stuff happening. I can't even keep up. Probably by Friday, a couple days from now, we'll have the whole Branson, Missouri registration page up. This will be the first time in history that Tom Horn and I have ever spoken publicly together. This will be the first time in history that you'll have L.A. Marzulli, you will have Tom Horn, you'll have myself, Timothy Alberino, Anselm P. Rambla, Dr. Michael Lake, and Derek Gilbert, and each one of us who's going to be a speaker there has our primary areas of research and influence. And so I'm going to encourage you that once the page goes up, either Friday or Monday, to get registration, because we've got some surprises, and I'm not going to give them away, although I kind of want to. I won't yet. So all the registration will be there. Gordon, the event planner, has already secured better rates for rooms in Branson, Missouri. This is going to be on the September 15th through the 17th, although registration will start on the 14th. In Branson, Missouri, 2017. Again, ladies and gentlemen, without this book, Empire Beneath the Ice, you're going to be taken so far off guard, you are not going to be able to handle it. And I'm talking Christians now. I know a lot of people in the world that will handle this better than the Christians, because the Christians want to use the cop-out, just trust God. There is no place in Scripture where I see that mankind didn't have to do something to fulfill their part of the equation. You do what you can do and believe God to do the impossible. I have seen it as a personal cop-out, a lack of responsibility, and I went to the Lord in this years ago. Some of you have been with me on talk radio for 20-some years. Know I said this. I said, Lord, why are people so difficult when you're trying to help them save their own lives? And here's what I heard so clear in my spirit. They do not want to take responsibility for their own choices. They always are looking for an out to blame this person, blame that person, blame someone else. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going to go up against Goliath's brothers, and trust me, they're coming, and you'll hear about that on Friday night on Hagman and Hagman. First 2 hours, you do not want to miss that. But because of the nature and intensity of the subject matter, what's unfolding in Antarctica, what's going on down in that region of the world, what is the object 2.5 miles, under the ocean moving? All these things we will answer for you to the best of our ability on Friday night with Doug Hagman and Joe Hagman on Hagman and Hagman. Well, good night, everyone. Thank you so much, and we'll look forward to doing another QCast.